Sony has set a high standard with their Xperia Z range of phones. First the Z, then the Z1 and now the Z1 Compact. As the name implies, the Compact is smaller in size, but that is really where it ends. In comparison to the Z1, the Compact has a smaller battery and a smaller lower resolution display. The battery has dropped from 3000 to 2300 mAh and the screen is 4.3 inches with a 1080 by 720 resolution in comparison to the 5-inch 1920 by 1080 display of the Z1. Of course, the physical size and weight has been affected too, but more on that later. Sony set out not to compromise on specification like their competition, and the Z1 Compact really is a small version of its big brother. It's hard to know really where the Z1 Compact sits and what to compare it to. Do I compare it to the high-end premium phones or the smaller sized handsets that lack the power and the features of the Compact? The answer, I believe, is both, because Sony has set out to fill a small but very apparent gap in the market. I have a bit of a personal desire for the Compact to be as good as it seems, as I use the S4 but find it a bit fiddly for one-handed use, but have never switched to something smaller as they haven't had the high-end features. If you want the short review of the Compact, cast your mind back to a review that you may have seen or read of the Z1 and just think all of this in a smaller package. The specifications scream high-end and powerful: 2.2 GHz quad-core processor, 2GB RAM, 16GB internal memory, microSD memory card slot, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GPS, micro USB with USB host and MHL video out functionality, 3G, 4G mirrorcast, 20.7 megapixel camera with LED flash, a 720p display with 342 ppi. You get the picture. Oh, did I mention it was waterproof too? Solid is the word I would use to sum up the build quality of the Compact. Following the Xperia design theme, the Z1 Compact has an aluminium frame which holds the internals with front and rear scratch-resistant glass panels. Sony has retained the look of the Z1 but with slightly more rounded corners, meaning not quite such a rough in-hand experience and fewer painful jabs when the phone is in the pocket. The buttons and the ports are on the whole logically placed, albeit they have covers over the majority of them to conform to the IP55-58 rating this device holds. The micro USB charging port is on the top left edge, which is still frustrating in my opinion, as when mounted in a vehicle, charging cables can pull on the port, but the solution is for Sony to make a magnetic charging cable more readily available, and I would be happy. The Compact does have a magnetic charging port on the side, so the DK32 dock can be used for simple charging solution, no need to open fiddly port covers. The 3.5mm headphone jack does not have a cover. It does not need one, the port has been specially coated. If you're a regular headphone user, then this is a real blessing. The IP rating means the Compact can be submerged in fresh water for up to 30 minutes at a depth of 1.5 meters. For many, this is never going to be necessary, but there are many benefits to having a device that is IP rated. Most of us know or have heard of someone who has dropped their phone in sinks or other water-ridden places. The Compact is available in 4 colours: black, white, pink and lime, so there's something to suit most people's tastes, perhaps negating the need to use a case to personalise your device. While Sony has reduced the size as much as they can, the footprint of the Compact isn't all that compact in comparison to the S4 Mini and even the S4 or the HTC One when you look at it on paper. In the hand, however, those small differences translate to much bigger ones. The Compact isn't very skinny or light, at 9.5mm thick and 137 grams, but something about it makes it feel okay. The bezel around the screen and especially at the bottom could be smaller in my honest opinion, but I am being a little overcritical maybe. A point to note here too is the Compact does have a notification light that sits behind the earpiece on the front of the phone. Thankfully it does not act like a lighthouse when you're charging your device on your bedside table at night. At 720p with 342 ppi, the display isn't quite as stunning as its big brother, which is 1080p with 441 ppi, but the Compact puts on a good show. Images still look bright and crisp, and I think many can argue the screen is good enough for a mobile device. If you're an audio-visual buff, then it may not be good enough, but a smaller screen means less weight and less power draw. You can't have it all. The overall experience is really good. That includes those viewing angles. My only slight criticism is that the screen can be a little more reflective than one would like in certain lights. If you have seen or handled a Sony device before, you know that you're not getting stock Android, but the customization does not go quite as far as the memory-hungry TouchWiz from Samsung. You get all your favourite Google apps, or of course you can download your preferred ones easily through the Play Store. In addition, you get a suite of Sony services which you can choose from. Some will stand out more to different users, from their Music Unlimited service to FM radio or Track ID service. Sony cover a lot of bases. There are even a sketch and TV remote apps. All can be easily managed and organised in the app tray. Worth a quick mention is the PlayStation mobile approved element of this device. Keen gamers can connect a PlayStation controller wirelessly and sit back and play some classic games for a bit of fun. Out of the box, the Z1 Compact runs Android 4.3, so it's not the very latest rendition of Android, but an update will come in time. Performance has been snappy in my time with the device, and I struggle to find much to fault with it. It's worth noting that approximately 11 gig of the 16 gig internal memory was available out of the box, and there is of course expansion through the microSD memory card slot or cloud storage if you prefer. As noted in the run through of the specs, the device is loaded with connectivity options, be it wired or wireless. There is little you can not do here. Tether to a laptop, share your display to a big screen, or transform your device into a mobile office with a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. The Compact has something to offer the trendy teen or the high-flying executive. The waterproof headphone jack is a positive, as is its location, right on the top of the device. The speaker on the bottom edge is not bad in terms of positioning, size or volume. However, if I were to be picky, it is quite easy to muffle the speaker when using the device in landscape mode. It would be nice to have a secondary speaker to give a more immersive sound, but few do. The device did register 81 decibels in our test. Taking the best of Sony camera technology and squeezing it into a mobile is always going to be a challenge, but they have managed to do a good job. The results are generally very good in bright conditions, however low light images were a little disappointing. Whilst the flash did a reasonable job to fill the scene, images were a little grainy. I took the majority of my test images in superior auto mode in the interest of trying to be fair, as most of us point and shoot. Thus, using manual mode may result in better final results. The good news is that the results are better than the same camera on the original Xperia Z1 when it launched. It was certainly not the Samsung and even HTC devices for 6, but Nokia's PureView 41 megapixel snapper still remains the crown of the ultimate photography experience on a phone. With the Compact, there is no bulge on the back like the Lumia 1020, so the back is flush and the lens is even slightly recessed to ensure that no unwanted harm comes to the lens. 1080p video recording from the front and rear camera is available out of the box. It would be fair to say that the camera on the Compact is good enough that you can dispose of your old compact camera. There are plenty of shooting options, including time shift mode that captures 61 images in just 2 seconds. The dedicated camera key is a massive plus. You can keep a firm grip on the phone whilst capturing the image. Social Live and InfoEye are interesting additions to the camera suite. For more information on these, check out our blog. The battery is smaller than the bigger competing devices, but similar in size to its mini counterparts. The lower resolution screen conserves some power, and Sony's stamina mode really ensures that every last milliamp hour is used as efficiently as possible. I found that a daily charge was necessary, but even after quite heavy use, it stood its ground. More demanding users may find an afternoon or early evening charge necessary, but this is only if you're not taking advantage of stamina mode. The battery, to some people's disappointment, cannot be removed. It is built in, but then again most are. I have often preferred removable batteries. I'm not sure why, because it's extremely rare to ever need to remove it, and most of us have changed phones before the battery has really given up on us. Pricing the Z1 Compact was always going to be a contentious issue. It has to be more expensive because of what it offers, but it is competing with the mini series of devices which are cheaper than the premium counterparts. Sony have priced the device competitively, but truth be told, if you want a device like this, with all the power from such a small form factor, you are likely to be willing to pay for it. At the time of recording, the price sits at $399 when bought from Clove, with the slightly more established Samsung S4 and HTC One Mini coming in at approximately £320. The bigger 5-inch devices such as the S4 and HTC One are around $430, and the Z1 a little higher at $480. Once the Z1 Compact ages, the price will likely settle nearer $360, which is certainly fair. I was never a real fan of the Z1, but admired what Sony had done. I felt compelled to like the Z1 Compact because it offered what Samsung and HTC's comparable devices failed to. On too many occasions I have spoken to people who have bought the mini devices thinking they did what the more publicised S3, S4 and HTC One did, only to find out when it was too late that they were slightly misinformed. With the Z1 Compact, the story is very different, even if it commands a slightly higher price. Some will find fault, but show me a device that is perfect for all. I think I may just have to get the credit card out and make this my personal device for the next 12 months.